everybody. Welcome to another edition of Gaughan Racing. Jeff Motley alongside Brendan Gaughan here in the South Point Studios, our beautiful sports book here behind us.
Yes, we are. We got balloons left over in this corner of the set
from the March Madness here in the the studio. By the way, they had to move those things 2 weeks ago when you weren't here. They're not as easy to move. You think, I'm going to move balloons.
No, there's actually structure inside
no one
that.
Told us there was like a 100-pound weight tied to the
Well, you don't want them to blow away,
balloons.
Jeff. I mean, they're balloons,
Yeah, there's a lot of wind inside the studio. I just remember.
Hey, there's a lot of wind. There's a lot of wind in this studio.
There is. But it was a lot less that particular day because you were not here.
True. I was down in Mexico playing.
But with that being said, we are both here this week.
Yes, we are.
We got to wrap up last weekend's race at Richmond, and I'll tell you, I can't. Obviously, I've never been a racer, but I can't even imagine the frustration that Martin Truex Jr. must have felt at the end of that race.
Do you remember? We're going back into the nether years, right? In 2003, Bobby Hamilton Sr. wrecked me after the checkered flag at Richmond.
I do remember that happened.
He right-reared me, chased me down the track, right-reared me, wrecked me hard. Like, it was a big wreck. Matter of fact, what was famous for that wreck for me was John Thompson was at that race.
And didn't Bobby get suspended for that?
No, of course he didn't get suspended. He didn't get nothing. Come on, it's Bobby Hamilton Sr. But so old Blinky put me in the fence.
Great Bobby Hamilton.
The late, great Bobby Hamilton. So John Thompson is at that race, and John Thompson looks and goes, "That man tried to kill you, boy." And I said, "No, Coach, he was frustrated." And, so Coach Thompson never came to a race after that. He never liked what I did racing, would never come back after that race. But what I saw there was Ted Musgrave, the same thing that Bobby Hamilton had with me. Had nothing to do with Kyle Larson. Martin Truex Jr. was not mad at Kyle Larson. Martin Truex Jr. was just pissed off in general. And the guy next to him was Kyle Larson. So going down the back straightaway, he just goes, wham!
Well, and Larson knew that. That's why I thought Larson's interview afterwards. But poor Larson. I say poor Larson. Well, if Bubba doesn't spin Larson out,
yes,
Truex wins the race going away.
Yes.
The other thing that if Bubba doesn't spin Larson out, Larson gets a worse finish. He was falling through the field. He was able to come in and get fresh tires, and Bubba has a bad pit stop
and ends up getting crushed.
So Kyle Larson gets spun out by Bubba Wallace, gets doored and then bumpered by Martin Truex Jr. And when it's all said and done, he still came in third place. He beat both of them.
And Martin is sitting there just mad at the world, hitting his teammate, hitting Kyle, just mad. And like I said, it reminded me so much of the Bobby Hamilton Sr. situation where he had, you had the win in your sight. But listen, that's why we race to the end of these races, Jeff. I mean, that you always joke about. Clint Boyer was always mad because he won the 400, but not the 429 the one year you did it.
Right.
That's why we race to the end. Things happen. Kyle Larson got loose in front of Bubba. Bubba, gave him a chance for a second, but then there, nothing you can do off of for it at Richmond. It happens. And
Bubba kind of took the blame for it.
Well, and Bubba wasn't.
But
and
you're
Kyle
also
wasn't
2 laps to go in a race.
No,
you're running
you're
for
digging,
top
man.
five.
You're digging. You're going. And so to me, it was Richmond, the action track. Isn't that the old nickname of it? Richmond, the action track. And in the end, Denny Hamlin does what he has to do and pulls out a hell of a W.
And we have to say this as much. And look, we are as guilty as anybody of ragging on Hamlin's pit crew.
Oh, yeah.
But he came in on that final pit stop, I believe, in 4th place, and he came out in first.
His pit crew did, and this is the only thing that bums me out about Denny.
And they had to make green flag stops at Richmond twice.
And this is what bums me out, though. You think that Denny, he beats on that team so bad when they do stuff wrong, right? He gets so angry and goes on his podcast and says that, arr. And all he did was, man, my guys did great today. Denny, how about you give your boys a little love now? I mean, this is where you get, them boys did a hell of a last pit stop, got you to the front row, got you to the control car. There's some great memes out there.
Were you good with the final restart?
It's so hard to say when we leave, and as a driver,
the in-car camera looks it was pretty close.
I'm going to say, as a driver, I think it's all good. It just depends on if you're on Martin Truex's side, it's no good.
Well, it used to be that a restart was in the area of a certain part of the track. So that really gave you a lot of gray area. But now it's supposed to be between this line and that line, which makes it a little bit more black and white.
But the other thing is when do I go? I can roll the throttle early, and that's not going. Going to me is when I thump. And so I can play with that throttle. And I would say that Denny played games.
And the second place guy can also back off to make it look like you jumped, right?
Absolutely. Second place guy can play games with it. And remember what they say is the only start that the leader must be to the line first is the initial start. After that, second place can beat him to the line. So it's a race, right? It's a race.
But the second place cannot hit the accelerator first in the restart zone.
So Denny went to play a game. Martin thought it might be a little early. Denny rolled quick. And to me, I say it's just all good in racing, man. That's part of what we do. It's part of the game.
Well, and what we saw is some of the top racers in the sport all rise to the top in this race.
Yes.
I mean, looking at the odds first off on Denny, he was plus 400 to win, a plus 120 for a top three, plus 205 to win Group A. Very little return on his head-to-heads, minus 150 against Truex, minus 170 against Gibbs. He did bring Toyota win at plus 120. His championship odds, he started out at 10 to 1. It's now down to plus 600, but it was pretty much at plus 600 even before this race after he had won just a couple weeks ago. So that didn't change a lot. Not a lot really to be won other than maybe if you pick Denny to win the race with the plus 400. But still a strong showing. And you look at the top 10, you might have, I don't know if there's any real surprises at all. And one thing I want to point out, we had all three manufacturers take the top three spots. Denny Hamlin with his win, Joey Logano finally had a strong run. Something he needed. You finally actually can find him on like page one of the standings. He's still not in the top 16, but he's at least kind of like on a page one. But Joey was a plus 600 for a top three. And then Kyle Larson, probably the best he ran all night, was on the very final restart, and he gets himself up to a third place finish at a plus 250. And then Martin Truex Jr., we talked about, dominated the entire race, but ends up fourth. Chase Elliott really, really needed a good run. Christopher Bell came in sixth. Strong car, but he got a penalty for speeding in the pits.
And started in the back.
Started in the back. Penalty for speeding in the pits, and probably strategy was wrong. They were trying to run on a two-stop instead of a three-stop on the final segment there. William Byron, really never a factor all day, but he hung around the top 10 all day, got a seventh. Keselowski, Buescher, those RFK cars, and Tyler Reddick. So I don't think you look at the top 10 there in this race and say, wow, I'm surprised.
Well, the only thing
surprised not to see Ty Gibbs after the way he's been running.
I'm surprised you don't see a Ty Gibbs, but to me, I look at, how about the RFK cars still? When do we start believing in them, right? I mean, right there, 8th and 9th. Now, bummer for me with cash and tickets because Chris Buescher, Chase Elliott had that good week at bad time for me because I had old Chris Buescher as winning that group. But still, RFK, I like is RFK Joe Gibbs or Rick Hendrick yet?
Well, no, we're not there yet.
But I would say RFK is better than Penske right now.
Well, certainly, Blaney was a guy who was they were completely out to lunch.
And what did I say last week? Blaney has never had a good run at Richmond.
Which is amazing the way he runs at Phoenix and the way where we're going to be this week at Martinsville. Two tracks.
One of those things like me.
Very well.
There is something about Richmond, guys. Jeff, there is something about Richmond.
Certain drivers just embrace it and some don't.
I don't get it. There's something about that track that I don't ever want to get rid of it, right? I love the track, but there's just something about it. It does not work well for some people.
Well, and it seems like right now, even with the new car, they got to figure something out there at Richmond. Right now, it's like I don't know what it is, but it just seems like there's not as much competitiveness. I mean, I remember when you used to have battles for the lead that would go on for lap after lap after lap, side by side.
So this is the package that everybody kind of complained about last year, right? The short track package is not as good. This was the modified package, I believe, though, the one that they kind of used at Phoenix, the little slightly modified, which Phoenix had a great race. So what it is, and I don't. You got the driver, you got the team owners and some people saying motor, give us power, give us power. I am a believer in power. I'm a driver. I love horses. Give me water heater.
Let you deal with the accelerator.
Give me water heater and I'm going to be happy. But the other thing that can make a difference, and I think we saw this at Bristol to a bad degree, so to speak. Give me a tire. This is where you can open the playbook for Goodyear a little bit. Now, Bristol went bad with the 20 laps,
but we saw tire wear at Richmond. I mean, guys were having to make green flag pit stops.
Yeah, but it wasn't dropping enough.
Well, it dropped when you saw a guy come in and make a pit stop after 50 laps, and you saw the difference in the tires. I mean,
it just didn't seem it was at the right place and time that it made the difference where you had comers and goers like that. You saw guys late passing for lead, passing to get a lap back and stuff. If a guy held long.
Well, maybe Bristol scared some guys too. I don't know.
That could have been. That crew chiefs definitely got scared from Bristol.
Well, nothing this week really upset our point standings. Our point standings really kind of didn't really change all that much.
Denny moved to the top. because of the two wins.
With his 2 wins, has moved to the top. You know, Daniel Suarez really sits kind of 5th in the playoff standings because of his win. But he's down. He's only got 163 points. I mean, he's literally more than 100 points behind Martin Truex Jr., who's actually the top guy in the point standings right now. We did see Keselowski move his way into the top 16 right now. Mm-hmm. John Hunter Nemechek fell out, but Joey Logano has now moved up to 19th. He can actually see the playoff line. He can. I
still think Joey's going to get the win, and I don't believe this year we're going to have. So far, the way this looks, we're not going to do the whole talking about 16 winners this year.
No. Now we're going to get some a little bit of diversity coming up here in our next few races. This week we're going to head to the smallest track on the circuit, Martinsville Speedway, the paperclip, my hometown. That's right. By the way. Then we'll be going down to going over to Texas Motor Speedway, down to Texas for the Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400. Very similar to what we race in Charlotte. Kind of somewhat similar to Vegas, but probably more like Charlotte and the old Atlanta, if you remember that. Then we got Talladega, our favorite word will come into play that week, crapshoot. Then we have Dover, the Monster Mile, and then Kansas Speedway, a 1.5 mile track. So we got a couple. You
can't get any more diverse in
couple
our sport.
1.5 miles in there, a short track, a super speedway, and Dover's kind of its own animal.
You cannot get more diverse, Jeff, than what you see right there. The paperclip, a fast, nasty 1.5 miles. The monster of the massive Talladega, then the monster of Dover, and then off to the standard 1.5 miles with Kansas. Can't get there. I love how we get these schedules once in a while. Remember the old days? It used to be 1.5 miles, 1.5 miles, short track, 1.5 miles. This is awesome.
And hey, and 3 of these 5 tracks that are coming up right now are all in the playoffs too. So,
I didn't think. Yeah, Martinsville, Texas, Talladega, Dover.
and Kansas. Kansas,
Talladega,
right. Martinsville.
Texas out of the playoffs now.
So I think knowing the fact that those are going to be in the playoffs,
a lot of stuff going on next couple weeks.
Exactly. I mean, if you're Denny Hamlin, it might be somewhat of a test session. If you're Kyle Larson, it might be a little bit of a test session, or William Byron, or who knows. I mean, I just look forward to seeing this diversity in the schedule. Okay, we come back on Gaughan Racing. It'll be time to start breaking down the odds for this week's race in my hometown, Martinsville Speedway.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rockin' dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grandview Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grandview Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grandview Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Back here on Gaughan Racing, Jeff Motley alongside Brendan Gaughan. Brendan spends the entire commercial break on a phone call that literally he hangs up on the lady just as soon as we're
3, 2, 1. Come on, I knew I had time.
So it was great. I love that. 3, 2, got to go. Boom, hit the button. We're on.
See, that was professionally professional.
I was going to say that was.
I'm just saying. Anna's giving me a very sideways catfish eye look.
She gets nervous. Like she thought you were going to be late for the show today. You made it a whole 2.5 minutes before we went on the air. Hey. I mean, that's 150 seconds. That's a
That's an eternity.
I mean, in an NCAA basketball game,
that could
that's
take
like
15
20
minutes.
minutes.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
so that takes forever, especially in some of these games that we've been watching. But
come on, never a doubt over here, Ann. Never a doubt.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So better than me sitting here almost having to do by myself a couple weeks ago. But that's another story. So this week we head off to Martinsville Speedway. Certainly a place near and dear to my heart, as I've said many times. So before we get into the odds, let's talk about some guys' performances, what we've seen at Martinsville Speedway over the years. No big surprise, Denny Hamlin. You know, the Virginia tracks where Denny's from. He grew up racing there.
Real
in
home
late
tracks.
models.
Those are real home tracks.
Richmond
by the way.
and Martinsville
Yes.
definitely are home tracks, both for Denny Hamlin. But he's got 5 wins, but 36 races. 19 top fives.
Just like Kyle Busch last week.
20, well, that didn't work out too well for him last week. And 25 top 10s. Now, we can talk about stats on a lot of drivers, but the numbers that Denny Hamlin has put up, and that's a lot of data points.
Yes.
36 races is incredible. So if you're going to pick against Denny this week, I mean, he's on a roll. He's very hot. And he's going to a place that he's very comfortable.
Absolutely. And the other thing I look at here, though, is let's go down that list to Ryan Blaney. We just talked about how I gave you last week. Ryan Blaney's stats are so abysmal here at Richmond. Now, at Martinsville, the exact opposite. He is 50% top 5.
That's amazing.
65% top 10. All right, here we go. 10, 16 races, a win, 8 top 5s. That's impressive stats. But for some reason, Richmond and Martinsville, even though they're both short tracks, we know they're vastly different, right? Right now, I'm a lot higher on Ryan Blaney than I was last week.
The one guy that, honestly, until I looked at these numbers, really surprises me is Martin Truex Jr. So
you got to remember, there's a lot of Martin Truex Jr.'s career, like a Ross Chastain. He
wasn't in as good a car.
Go.
That's true, because he's got 3 wins there, 36 starts, but only 10 top 5s. But I remember so many times, like every single race, Truex was one of the guys you were looking at to win at Martinsville.
But you're remembering from Furniture Row on. If you remember,
he did win a championship with Furniture Row.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. If you go from Furniture Row to now, it's kind of like when we look at Ross Chastain stats, right? Where we say, okay, Ross Chastain before he got to Ganassi was a vastly different deal. Or Eric Jones, you look at his Joe Gibbs stats, and then you say, well, okay, he had these great stats, but that was with Joe Gibbs, not with Petty or Legacy or whichever it was. You got to kind of pay attention to that. Martin Truex Jr., last 10 races, 6 top 10s, 5 top 5s, 3 wins, and an average finish of 9.4. So this is the era of Martin Truex at this place.
And another guy that I'm kind of like, wow, where do you go with this guy? Joey Logano.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's got 30 starts. He's only got 1 win. He should have 2. I mean, Matt Kenseth made sure he only has 1.
That's
but
my best.
Really, if you think about 30 starts, he's only got 11 top 5s. And I say only 11, but for 30 starts for Joey Logano, now he's got 18 top 10s.
Now, let's talk about the last 10 races, though. Of those 11 top 5s in those 30 races, 5 in the last 10 races.
Clearly, it's a track he's comfortable racing.
He's gotten more comfortable. Average finish 6.5 last 10 races.
All right.
I'm with you, but you always like to say, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
Or what?
And I agree. We do need to look at how you've done in the last few races, and I think that's part of.
But Ford, we're still talking about Ford versus Toyota. If we're going to talk about where I'm putting my money this week, Ford, Joey Logano had a good run finally. All right. The 2 RFK Fords still top 10, but not battling for the win. All right. Other than that, Ford non-existent.
Well, I think you're going to be surprised if you haven't peeked ahead to the manufacturer props when we get those. So
I'm sure it's what I think.
It might not be what you think.
What? No way.
I think you might be surprised. In
Really?
fact, it might be enough tempting that we may want to think about betting manufacturer props this week.
Oh my God!
Yeah, see that little foreshadowing.
A little foreshadow for
guess
me.
What?
All right.
You got to hang around to the last segment of the show in order to hear those. So, speaking of odds, let's get to our odds to win now. Denny Hamlin, a big surprise, is the favorite, plus 500. Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr., and Ryan Blaney all at plus 800. Kyle Larson, William Byron, Joey Logano 10-1. Brad Keselowski and Ty Gibbs at 14. Chris Buescher, Chase Elliott, and Chase Briscoe all coming in at 20-1. There's a lot of double-digit numbers that kind of jump out at me there.
There's a lot of double-digit numbers that jump out at you, and even that Ryan Blaney at 800. I mean, what have you done for me lately? Average finish 5.0, 7 top 5s, 1 win, last 10 races, 8 top 10s. I mean, Ryan Blaney, I just said I was sour on him last week at Richmond. I am not sour on him this week, except that he's driving a Ford. But he is our most recent winner. He won the playoff race at Martinsville last year.
And one guy that's kind of interesting to me. So Christopher Bell, he's plus 800. We know he had the walk-off win at Martinsville in the playoffs.
Yep. Couple
Do you
years
know
ago.
that's his only top 5 ever at Martinsville?
And I was actually, what was funny is I was looking him up earlier today because I wanted to. He's got 3 top 10s, 1 top 5. That 1 top 5 was a win in 8 races. It's almost like he only does really well there when the pressure's on. That's the only way I think of it, because I look at the stats, a 35th, a 15th, the 15th, the 20th, the early season race, every early season race he's had has been a double-digit or 20th worst finish.
Well, the one other thing I want to point out is the race team who has the most wins at Martinsville Speedway is Hendrick Motorsports. They don't have a single driver in the single-digit odds.
Kyle Larson
and William Byron are 10-1s. You've got Chase Elliott at 20-1, and we haven't even gotten to Alex Bowman yet, who I believe has a win at Martinsville.
Alex Bowman does have a win in Martinsville. Look, even William Byron has a win at Martinsville. The only one
Larson's got a win at Martinsville.
Larson's got a win,
and Elliott probably thinks he should have a win.
Elliott has a win.
He has,
but he should have 2.
Two.
But I'm still, even though Elliott's running better, I'm not ready to bet him for a win yet. But if there's a place that he's going to do a streak breaker, this is it.
Well, and 20-1. I mean, this is probably
20-1 If there's a week I'm going to take it. This could be a shot
to flyer
take
on
it.
Chase Elliott is this week at 20-1. Well, let's take a look at our second page of the odds. We talked about Alex Bowman. He'll be on here. Tyler Reddick, Josh Berry, Ross Chastain. He can't do the Hail Melon this week. Not that he would probably do that in the
still
in
talking
the spring
about the
race.
Hail Melon.
At 25-1. Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch, all at 30-1. Noah Gragson at 40-1. Ryan Preece 60. Daniel Suarez 100. Austin Dillon 200. And the field that actually has a lot of drivers in it this week is coming in at 20-1. Anything jump out at you there?
No, I just jumped no quickly. You know who had a better run this week though? Josh Berry.
And this is his kind of racetrack.
Finished 9th in stage 1, 2nd in stage 2, led a couple laps. I mean, it was pit cycle laps, but he led a couple laps. And this is his type of racetrack. He's a famous short tracker.
And he won here many late model races.
Many late model races.
Classic they do in the fall.
And I still give you the Rodney Childers factor. So if there's a moment that Stuart Haas is going to have a bump, this should be it. And him and Noah Gragson looked pretty darn for as bad as the Fords are. They looked fairly good at Stuart Haas last weekend, showed some moments of decent run. So I'm still not going to bet him for a win, though.
And I will tell you, you're going to be very disappointed when we get to the group matchups if you have not peeked ahead.
I have not either.
So you'll be disappointed on the Josh Berry. The one guy that's kind of standing out to me a little bit here.
Okay.
Is this where Kyle Busch is falling now? At 30-1?
I didn't even realize that Kyle Busch was down at 30-1.
30-1? And he has been very good at Martinsville. I mean, is this man, we don't believe in the Childress cars going
average
on
finish
here?
in the last 10 races, average finish 14. If I go back to the Gibbs era before he got to RCR, his last races were 29-7, second, 10-9, 19. So he's got a 21st and a 27th at Richard Childress Racing. Yeah.
But it's interesting when I look at that list there. You've got Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman who have cup wins at Martinsville. Josh Berry's got late model wins at Martinsville. Bubba Wallace, Noah Gragson have Truck Series wins.
I think they're just going off of what have you done for me lately.
No, I don't disagree with you there. I just think those numbers.
Look. Anytime you got Kyle Busch at 30-1. I mean that's an anomaly in itself. Kyle Busch at 30-1. So
agree. All right, let's take a look at our odds for top threes. Denny Hamlin is a plus 130. Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr. all at plus 200. Joey Logano 300. William Byron, Chase Elliott at 350. Ty Gibbs 380. Brad Keselowski 450. Briscoe 600. Chastain, Busher, Bubba at 700. Reddick and Josh Berry at plus 800.
Well, look, now here's where you're talking some. Hold on, William Byron. We talked about the Hendrick, right? You got Kyle Larson at a 200.
No, Kyle Larson, who was 10-1 to win along with Byron, but he bumps all the way up to a plus 200 for a top three.
And But remember, these are different places that we're getting the odds from. This is from DraftKings. The odds to win were from the South Point.
Correct.
So that's why that's what I like now is we're using different books to show you things. We got Westgate in here, so you can see how odds change per book. But I still got William Byron at 350, Chase Elliott at 350. I got Ty Gibbs, who's except for last week has been on a tear this season at 350. Or that's 380.
380. It's an odd number, but okay.
But still, I mean, these are some great numbers there, and you didn't even get to the last guy on that Hendrick Motorsports because he's on the second page.
Right, and I tell you, if you want an opportunity where Josh Berry might be an interesting pick, plus 800, and do not be surprised to see Josh Berry have a very, very strong run. All right, let's take a look at our page 2. We talked about Reddick and Josh Berry were plus 800. It's partly the way our page flips over. Alex Bowman is also a plus 800. Kyle Busch at 900. Gregson is 11-1. Priest 18. Suarez 30. Gilliland, Nemechek, Austin Dillon all at 60-1. Eric Jones and Austin Cindric 70-1. McDowell, Hocevar 80. LaJoy is 150. Stenhouse 250, and Haley 500.
Yeah, I just right off the bat, Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch 800, 900. Now Kyle Busch, RCR looks like they're struggling a little bit, but that Alex Bowman number, that's a big number for a Hendrick vehicle, and we all know that Hendrick at this place, a very special place to them. We're not going to, a lot of reasons why it's special, but a very special place to them, and they've been very, very good there.
Well, and I think one thing that we look at with top threes sometimes, Martinsville, every now and then, you get that surprise guy that just, he doesn't necessarily win, and we did see that with my guy Earl Ross, who I know you love that name.
The Earl Ross McNugget makes a return on Gaughan Racing.
Couldn't have a Martinsville race without bringing up
without Earl Ross Nugget.
But I do like the fact that you never know when somebody could sneak in, so there could be somebody on this list that could. Okay, we come back on Gaughan Racing. We'll get into our driver head-to-head match. Can't even talk today. Driver head-to-heads and our group matchups.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Welcome back to Gaughan Racing. Jeff Motley alongside Brendan Gaughan. We're talking everything Martinsville Speedway, the paperclip in Martinsville, Virginia, and I love Martinsville.
I know we did.
Did you ever race well there? Did you?
I had great stats at Martinsville. I could look them up, but I had like of the 16 truck races, I was like 6 top 10s.
Didn't Clay Campbell, Mike Smith used to give you a hard time about the grandfather clock?
The famous that, because I used to say, you always joke at Richmond. I hated Richmond, but I used to joke and say I hate Martinsville, and they would have me come every year to do pre-race. I used to play with the old Martinsville high school guys, go to basketball with them and play with the old coach there that won so many championships for Martinsville High. And Had a great time with him and of
Probably
course.
was that Troy Wells would have been
Troy
coach.
Wells.
Troy Wells
That's right.
was coaching.
Well, no, it's Troy's dad.
Now Troy was coach.
Troy was the dad. That's
and
right.
then his son Travis used to work. He's now at Virginia Tech as a football SID, but he was a TV guy at the.
Troy used to have me come in and play.
So they grew up they lived 5 houses from me as a kid growing up.
I didn't know that.
So Troy and all the Wells kids, Josh and Travis and all those guys, 5 houses up the street from me, same street. But when I was a kid, there was a guy named Husky Hall was a basketball coach at Martinsville, and he won a ton of state titles.
Well,
and Troy was his assistant.
Did great for him.
Yep.
And we used to do that, but I used to always go. We used to always go to the pre-race media stuff, and I used to say, I hate this place. And it became the moniker that he loved me saying it, but I actually had good finishes. But yes, the famous story of when I finished second to Bubba Wallace in my last truck race there, they brought me the brochure for the clock and said, this is the only way you're ever going to get a grandfather clock, and hand me the brochure. I was like, you guys suck.
That was harsh.
That was harsh. That was a little harsh. By the way, Bubba Wallace, plus 700 for a top 3. I didn't mention that. I don't dislike that.
Yeah, I think he could surprise some people. Look, he ran very well last week.
He
on
ran
the short
great.
Track, and
had a top 3 going almost.
I think he's kind of comfortable on these. All right, looking at our head-to-heads, we kind of do a blanket look on these things. No really big numbers over here.
No big numbers, but some matchups I like. I'm going to say first, how about Chase Elliott as the dog to Ty Gibbs? I know I'm not high on Chase Elliott, but Chase Elliott, the dog at Martinsville to Ty Gibbs, bottom right corner, plus 105 to a minus 125. That's what have you done for me lately? I get it. But that sticks out. And to me, I just talked about Bubba Wallace. Plus 110.
On Josh Berry.
Yeah,
that one kind of jumped off at me too.
I like that.
That's probably the one that jumped at me the most that I saw up there was Bubba coming off there. And of course, on our sheets, what we've actually seen that number already move to a plus 105. So it's plus 110 there. Must be some love on Josh Berry. So be curious to see how those check out. Again, last week we had like plus 130s, plus 140s. We don't have any of those numbers this week. I think plus 110 is the biggest we're going to get. Okay,
still a W though.
It is still a W. Still cashing tickets, right? Still cashing tickets. All right, let's take a look at our group matchups, and we will lead things off in Group A, where, to no one's surprise, Denny Hamlin is the favorite at plus 235, Martin Truex Jr. and Ryan Blaney at plus 275, and Christopher Bell at plus 290.
Man, that's a tough one right there. I mean, this Group A is always the toughest handicap, right? Because you got all your favorites.
Correct.
And, Denny Hamlin, fantastic, ran great. Martin Truex Jr. Now, is there any anger in Martin Truex Jr.? Do we get a Puxatawny Phil, don't drive angry Martin Truex this week, and he goes out there and stomps the field because he's so mad about what happened? Don't know. Told you how high I am on Blaney. Seabell, I think, is the dog, rightfully so. I don't think he should be in Group A this week. So to me, it's a 3-man horse race, 275s, 235, but I still couldn't couldn't split a hair to give you who I think would be able to beat each one of those.
It's very hard for me in any scenario whatsoever to bet against Denny Hamlin at Martinsville. And that's why, but I'm like you, I understand why you would bet on Truex, Blaney, or Seabell. So for me, I guess I would probably avoid this group.
I'm avoiding Group A this week.
Just because of that. Because I think Denny's going to win, but all 3 of those guys are certainly capable.
But Martin Truex, man, if it comes down to it, Martin Truex, he's going to move his teammate out of the way to get that W.
And can we go back to Richmond real quick? So Truex made the comment that Denny used him up. And Larson made the comment of Denny used Truex up.
Well, how did he use him up?
So when I watched, the restart, now, do I think Denny may have gone a tick early?
Yeah, but how did he use him up?
But I didn't understand that. I didn't see what
I didn't see Denny
they saw.
I didn't see Denny, float the bottom and
right. So I didn't really understand what that. So I thought maybe you could.
No, I watched it a million times and just said, yeah, Denny rolled the start a little, rolled a little faster, but he didn't use it. Using him up to me is
like you run him up the racetrack.
You run him up and run him,
or
what
run
Martin
him down.
Truex did to Kyle Larson and just hammered him. That's using him up. But
there was some using up going on, which is so actually out of character for Truex.
But remember when Matt Kenseth did what he did to Joey Logano?
Well, no,
hey, short tracks bring tempers. That's what we love.
That was more than using up.
He used the hell out of him.
He pretty much put him out in the parking lot. Okay, let's move along to Group B.
Woo! Look at this favorite.
Huge favorite, Kyle Larson, plus 195. William Byron, Joey Logano, both at plus 290. And Brad Keselowski at plus 325. You want to bet against Kyle Larson? There's some money to be made here.
Yeah, and look, there's some guy, Joey Logano, better average finish last 10 races, 6.5 to Kyle Larson's 9.3. But I guess how good Kyle Larson ran last weekend. Remember, Larson led 144 laps at Richmond last weekend. So it ain't like the Chevy stunk. It ain't like Kyle Larson stunk. And we just talked about how good Hendrick is there. Even William Byron. There's some great numbers on guys right there. Brad Keselowski, I as good as he is in the Ford camp, I just don't see him beating both Hendrick cars and the Joey Logano. One of them I could see him beating. All three of them I don't, so I can understand the odds on that. But man, it's a 290 on a Joey Logano at Martinsville or a 290 on a William Byron at Martinsville. That's a pretty good number.
Well, and I think that's the key. I mean, because the number is so good, there's a reward for the risk there. Because I don't know. I mean, Larson hasn't been any more. Well, okay, Keselowski might be. He deserves to be the long shot here at plus 325. But for Larson to be that much of a favorite, yet he has not had that much more success than Byron or Logano has had at Martinsville. So to me, I think those three should be closer together.
And here's the deal: Larson's a plus 200 for a top three. Pick Larson for a top three at plus 200. At on DraftKings he's plus 200. This is Westgate at a plus 195. I take him in a top three where I think he's, even though you're only a 4-man horse race, I'd rather have him at plus 200 than 195.
I totally agree. Would stay away from this group unless you want to go for one of the
Byron or Logano.
One of the dogs. Go Byron Logano, go for it. All right, Group C, Ty Gibbs comes in as the favorite here at plus 255. Chase Elliott, and remember I told you, Josh Berry, you're going to be disappointed where he ends up in the groups. All the way up in Group C, both at plus 265, and Chris Buescher at plus 285. And this group is This is a tough group right here.
Dang it. Here's the deal. If you believe that Chase Elliott's going to be back to being Chase Elliott, it's a lock. You're taking Ty Gibbs, Josh Berry, Chris Buescher. It's a lock right there. The problem is Josh Berry is a kind of, let's say, he's that wild card in this one. And Chris Buescher knows how to cash tickets and ran great last weekend and has been running really, really well everywhere he goes lately. So that kind of bums me out that my man Buescher's in Group C against this. Chase Elliott, though, 265, he does know how to get it done here. I mean, that Ty Gibbs, I don't know.
That's a tough group there. All right, let's take a look at Group D, and this one has kind of got me a little bit surprised here. Chase Briscoe is the favorite at plus 235. Then we have Tyler Reddick and Ross Chastain and Bubba Wallace at all three at plus 280. Maybe I'm too high on Tyler Reddick these days because he hasn't been that strong like I thought he was going to be. But boy, he looks like he's the guy that should win this group.
See, Tyler's only got one top 10 in 8 races here. This has not been a good track for Tyler Reddick. This does not work out well for him.
I'm liking the Toyotas this year on these short tracks.
But Tyler Reddick last weekend eked out a 10th. Finished 10th in one stage. Never talked about Tyler Reddick all day. So I can take that out. The Chase Briscoe thing. Okay, Chase Briscoe runs great at Phoenix, sure. But Chase Briscoe, he don't have any big stats here to talk. Then I got Ross Chastain, the Hail Mary. I like the dog here. I like Bubba Wallace. I like the final of the 3 dogs. This is one of Bubba's best tracks. He's won in the Truck Series. He's done very, very well. He was top 3 last weekend at Richmond until the whole Kyle Larson, and he had a bad pit stop. He's got a couple top 10s in the last 10 races. By the way, those 3 top 10s, 8th, 9th, and 11th, last 3 races. What have you done for me lately? He's got to beat Chase Briscoe, who's been persona non grata most of the time. You got to beat Tyler Reddick, who doesn't like this place. You got to beat Ross Chastain, who's got the Hail Melon. That's the only 2 good finishes he has is a 5th and a Hail Melon. So other than that, even in the new stuff, Ross Chastain not been good there. Average finish 17.9. I like Bubba Wallace here.
Well, I think I'm a little torn between the 2 Toyotas, but I do like the teammates, the 2311 teammates there, Reddick and Bubba. I do like those guys. I guess I'm kind of torn on which one I want to pick.
I like Bubba. And Reddick is not. It's like Blaney last week. Not a track that Reddick has run well at. He hasn't shown me anything.
You're right. And it seems like when I have picked Bubba, it has not
worked well. And that's what happens is you don't. We talk about Bubba.
I don't
maybe
pick him, and he goes and he runs great, and then I go and I jump on the Bubba bandwagon, and then what happened here? Okay, let's take a look at our Group E. Ryan Preece is an
Ooh.
overwhelming favorite at plus 195. Daniel Suarez is plus 275. Austin Dillon plus 310. And Todd Gilliland at plus 320.
Ryan Preece, huh? At 195. What makes us say Ryan Preece is going to be the favorite in this? Average finish 23.4 last 10 races. That's a harsh melon right there for me. I don't know what makes you say Ryan Preece should be.
And I'm just going to tell you straight up, Todd Gilliland has been running much better.
Todd's been running well.
And he's got a plus 320. Now, Austin Dillon's also in the plus 300s at plus 310, but Austin's got to do something.
He's got to do something at some point. But Todd Gilliland, he had a bad week. He was 6th in stage 1 and then finished 21st. Had a great qualifying run.
He was one of those guys, though, that got caught in the whole pit strategy and a lap down, and then he tried to take the waiver. There was a few of those guys that got caught in that situation.
Todd finished 10th in the playoff race here. Just 6-8 months ago.
Yeah,
so
plus 320 Group E.
I don't dislike.
I'm digging Todd Gilliland.
I am too. I mean, the only one that scares you a little bit maybe is that Suarez, because once again we don't talk about Suarez, and then he's got such a great teammate. They run, and he starts popping off these numbers. But I do like that. That Todd Gilliland number right there.
All right, we come back on Gaughan Racing. We'll have you our final group, and then we'll give you our picks for the week.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Welcome back into Gaughan Racing, our final segment this week. What's that?
Both of yous.
Both of yous. Is that a New Yorker?
I was going to say that sounds like we did the two Utes last weekend again. We're back on the two Utes thing.
Yeah. For those people who couldn't hear, that was our producer Ann saying both of yous. I mean,
both of yous.
Exactly. I mean, where's my cousin Vinny?
That's right.
Coming up. All right, Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan. It's our last segment here of Gaughan Racing for this week, talking all things Martinsville Speedway.
Martinsville.
And we're on our final group pick of the week, and we've got co-favorites with John Hunter Nemechek and Carson Hocevar, both at plus 235. Austin Cindric at plus 255, and Corey LaJoie, a big dark horse or big underdog in this group, at a plus 380.
I've been big on Corey LaJoie, a lot. When we talk about these things, not at Martinsville. This is not one of his things. But I've also been very high on this Carson Hocevar kid. Last week, okay. He still almost won his group last week. He finished 27th, and I was like, oh, Eric Jones has one anomaly of a good week, but he was, it's like, dang it. But he's in Group F, but John Hunter, Austin Cindric, this is the type of place that John Hunter normally does fairly well at. He doesn't have a lot of data points, of course, in Cup, but, this is John Hunter's type, thing. He grew up with his dad and, doing this sort of stuff. So I don't know. It's a tough one for me. Cindric, I'm trying to find.
The
Got one top 10 in 4 races.
Cindric here is, I mean, for
Finished
crying out
ninth in
loud,
playoff
the
race.
Penske cars run well here.
We're talking about Ryan Blaney as one of my big threats of the whole thing. And Logano, and we don't even mention Austin Cindric.
And I don't understand the Austin Cindric situation. I mean, here's a guy who in the Xfinity series was
dominated.
as good as there was.
Road courses everywhere.
Blaney wins a championship last year. Logano's won 2 championships in the last 6 years or whatever. I know he won the Daytona 500, his first race out of the box. I am at a loss on that one because I think the guy's a good race car driver.
I think he's a great race car driver. I think the problem is he doesn't have a hot seat, and I think if he had a little more flame underneath him, sometimes you need a little flame, and we all know that there's the tie there with Penske. I think there's not enough flame on him, and he needs to get a little fire because I think if he gets a fire, the kid's great.
Well, because to me, I look at this group and I say, okay, Cindric should win this.
Cindric, but I'm going once again Hocevar. I just
see. I would go Nemechek or Cindric. Nemechek because I like the Toyota angle.
True.
And Cindric because I like the Penske angle, but that hasn't really worked out for him.
I'm not betting this group this week anyway. So
well, you know what? Neither am I.
Okay.
How about that? Now let's talk about our manufacturer prop.
Wow.
Because I am stunned.
Shocked, shall we say.
Shocked, I tell you. So Toyota is the favorite here at plus 120. Not shocked.
No.
But then our second favorite is
Fords.
Ford at plus 200. And our underdog is Chevrolet at plus 240. Now, I understand Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. and Christopher Bell do not drive Chevrolets. They drive Toyotas. And Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano drive Fords.
Hey, what manufacturer is Rick Hendrick, by the way?
That'd be Chevy.
Is that Chevy?
That's
I can't remember. I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank on it.
Every Hendrick driver has won here at Martinsville.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you give me Chevy at plus 240 as the underdog. I'm not saying a Chevy's going to win this race, but boy, I like those odds.
I'm looking at the last bunch of years. I'm pulling up Martinsville. Okay, Blaney won the playoff race. Larson, then Bell, then Byron, then Bowman, then Truex, then Chase Elliott, then Truex. A lot of Chevys have won the last bunch of races here. I 240. I'm sorry, we haven't had a Chevrolet at 240 in 2 years. So there's way too many Chevys here that I like. I love that Chevrolet 240.
I do too. I just don't know how you don't take a shot at that because it's such a good number and such good drivers.
Yeah,
that you're getting in that Chevy camp.
Yep.
So I'm with you. And we didn't even mention the fact that you're also going to you're getting Kyle Busch and you're getting Ross Chastain. You got guys who could even pull it off here, but just having those 4 Hendrick cars and a plus 240 is like, wow.
Yeah. And the lore of Hendrick at Martinsville just always, it's hard. That's a massive lore to live up to.
But it's also to say it's about cashing tickets. And so taking Toyota at plus 120 is still a plus.
Still plus.
I mean, it could be a minus 120.
Listen,
really.
It's better than the head-to-heads that I'm betting. So I mean, I like Chevy there. I just don't think that's a 240 number for Chevy is a little off for me. So I'm.
Well, and speaking of picks, there are those of us who need to get some picks right. And actually, before we get to how we did last week, because I really don't want to talk about it that much, we do need to talk a little bit about our championship odds. They have not changed very much, so we can just briefly touch on them.
I'd still rather talk about how the stats are working.
What is interesting, though, by the way, is Daniel Suarez, I believe, last week was like 80-1, and now he's dropped to 50-1. So you know what I think that is? I think that is because we now had our second driver win a second race. And so even though he is very, very low in the points, I think there was some thought that, maybe
his 16 drivers
may not get him in. Yeah. And I think now that we've seen 2 wins out of William Byron and 2 wins out of Denny Hamlin, we know Kyle Larson's going to get multiple wins. I think that has probably made it more solid.
I agree.
So,
and look, it's still 50-1. In another couple, as it gets closer, it's going to keep chipping down to where he'll be 30-1 or something before the playoffs start.
Right. I can't imagine anybody. He may go into the playoffs at 40 unless he wins again. Now, if he wins again,
it'll drop to teens.
And remember, this year he's a good road course racer, and this year we have 2 road course races in the playoffs, including one, I believe, in the first stage of the playoffs this year.
Look, I don't dislike. Remember, I always talk about this is your futures. This is where you got to jump on things early, and there are good numbers still here, but you need to jump on them now before they go the opposite direction.
Okay. All right. Now, the saddest part of our show.
Not for me.
Well,
I mean, I had a
you
bad
didn't exactly
week,
set the world on fire
hey,
this week.
did I get
you are?
-5? Who got -5 this week? And can anybody behind the glass tell me who got -5 this week? Anyone? Bueller? Oh, hi, Jeff Motley. How are you, sir?
Boy, it was a tough week. It was a very, very tough
not
week.
not for the pit crew or me. I mean, Jeff was 0 for 5.
I picked Blaney to win his group, and he was. I think he ran last in his group pretty much all day long.
Minus double digits. Man.
Yeah.
Minus
I need a win this week very bad.
Hey.
But credit last week, you did get a.
I got my Larson v. Truex.
You and your Ty Cobb, Pete Rose hit singles over everybody's head.
Hey,
you
listen,
did it again.
I love that. Larson, way to door him into the wall to get me that win. I mean, he pinned him in the wall.
Literally, you got your pick right by a bumper.
Hey,
and it really wasn't.
Hey,
Larson
by a mile. Looked like a mile to
And
me.
Larson didn't door Truex. I mean,
well, no,
Truex
he shoved him in the
doored
wall after turn 4 just to get the spot, just to be pissed.
Okay, but
I
I can't say that. I
still
blame
got it.
Our pit crew got 2 wins. You know what? Okay. So last week we said, boy, bet against Christopher Bell at your own peril.
And
well, guess what? Both of their
they
bets
did.
against Christopher Bell
did.
came in and were winners. They got a win with Truex against Bell and Larson against Bell, and Bell finished 6th.
And got them almost to the positive for the season. They're like right there.
They are knocking on the door. I am not knocking on the door.
You're knocking on a door.
Oh, I'm knocking on a door, all right. The door to the basement.
I mean,
I'm knocking on the door trying to get out of the basement because I'm already in the basement.
Listen, I think Freddy Krueger shut the door and locked it on you right now.
Yeah.
You need to come back.
Well, I do feel like I'm in a horror movie when I'm picking these, so that doesn't come as a big surprise. Okay, and that means that by our rules, I have to give
Mr. Motley, please.
my picks first. So I'm going to go with the top 3. I'm taking Kyle Larson for a top 3,
okay,
plus 200.
Okay.
I'm taking one driver head-to-head, and that is Bubba Wallace at plus 105. 105 on our sheet, which I assume is what we're going to go by. It was 110 on our screen.
110 on the board. No, 110 on the board.
But the problem is I have to grade off this sheet.
Then you rewrite it on that sheet because that's 110 on the board showing 110 current odds. You got to go off. We booked it at 110. That's what.
All right, I'm going to take my 110.
I'm saying
Bubba
that
Wallace
because somebody else might be betting that.
Josh Berry head-to-head. They're plus 110. 2 group picks. I'm going into Group C, and I know I'm going to hate myself for this. I'm going to put a little faith in Chase Elliott. I'm taking Chase Elliott there in Group C. I'm going into Group E. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm going to take Todd Gilliland. That is plus 320 as the underdog there. And look, I talked about how much I like the Chevy bet. I'm taking Chevy plus 240 and a manufacturer prop. And now I need to read the pit crew picks because they're in second place because you're not. They are going with 3 group picks. They are, and they're going to agree with me in one. They're going with Joey Logano in Group B. They agree with me on Chase Elliott in Group C. They're taking Austin Dillon in Group E, taking Christopher Bell for a top 3 plus 200, and Truex over Hamlin.
Ooh.
I think they are going to say, yeah, Martin is not a happy camper, and so we're going to take Martin over Denny. So that is
can't
the
dislike
pit
that.
Crew picks.
See, I want to do a top 3, but I don't think I'm going to do it this week. I'm going to go. I'm sitting here as you're talking. I'm scanning back and forth trying to find if I wanted to refine my action, but I'm not going to refine it. I'm going to stick with my gut. I've got 2 head-to-heads, and that's why I was fighting for the 110 number on the head-to-heads. By the way, I am taking Bubba versus Josh at 110 to Josh because I think that this is one of Bubba's best tracks, and I'm taking Chase over Ty Gibbs at the 105. Ty hasn't done a lot here, and I think that Chase, doesn't put me back on the Chase Elliott bandwagon, just puts me in the right realm. Then I got 2 of the groups. I didn't read it. I looked it up in break, and Jeff, we talked about it. Chase Briscoe in Group D. I read up the last 4 races for Chase Briscoe, all top 10s, 2 top 5s. So I like the favorite there at 235. I was wrong when I said that earlier. I looked that up afterwards. So
Chase Briscoe forgives you.
Okay. And hopefully the bettors can, Chase Briscoe, Group D. That's a good one for me. And then I'm going head-to-head versus the pit crew. I'm going Todd Gilliland, Group E. I do like that Todd Gilliland pick in Group E. He's been running too good. And then I'm going to end up my manufacturer with Chevy with you. You give me 240 on Chevrolet. That's so like
so you're in trouble this week because you and I have 3 of the same picks.
I do know that. But that's why I fought for the 110 because I want the better number.
Okay.
Hey, come on. Look, paper versus live, right? We didn't make our bets until right now, and live says 110.
So here's my goal. I'm trying to beat the Mendoza line first. Anybody, you old baseball fans will understand the Mendoza line,
Yes.
thanks to George Brett and
Yes.
Mario Mendoza. So I just need to get like my head where it's like up above the top of the
snorkel can at least reach the air.
Exactly. Right now the snorkel doesn't even reach. I'm in full on scuba gear down there right now.
Scuba.
Oh, I know that's your favorite pastime. So Martinsville, we only got about 20 seconds left.
I'm excited. I love it.
It's a great track. It's a lot of fun.
Clay Campbell, one of the best operators in the business.
They do a great job down there. Like I said, my hometown. So one of these days, I'm hoping I get back to a race there. It just never seems to work out, but
Let's go together.
it is. Oh, I'm all for it.
I'm in.
All right, that's our show for this week on Gaughan Racing, and we'll be back next week. We'll wrap up Martinsville and tell you all about Texas.